comparing ChatGPT, Bing, and Tesla. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by MacVoices Magazine, our free magazine on Flipboard. Updated daily with the best articles on the web to help you do more with your Apple tech and beyond, MacVoices Magazine content is available in the free Flipboard app, on the web, or in your favorite RSS reader. Visit MacVoicesMagazine.com for details. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. The MacVoices live panel wraps up our conversation about artificial intelligence, machine learning, what the difference is, and where it's all going in our daily lives. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking.
There is a computerized system running around right now that couldn't kill us right now as we're on the show, but if we're going around driving later tonight, Tesla full what do they call it, FSD? Full self-driving?
Full driving. Yeah.
I am so horrified by that. I don't see how that is legal. That is absolutely, it's not AI, but it's how can that, be allowed? We need to learn this lesson, not by, killing a bunch of people.
That feels like a different thing to me, Jim. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. That's a set of instructions and decision making based on all the training it's had and all the programming it's had. But the ChatGPT stuff and what we're seeing with Bing,
well, actually, don't they do a bunch of ML training for self-driving? Isn't that how that works?
Mm-hmm.
I think to some degree,
it's basically the same technology.
Well, we need to go back to the basis and decide. AI is like the kitchen sink. It's a big bucket for all sorts of things. So we need to be a little bit more precise on what it is we're talking about when we say it is or is not an AI or AI system of some sort. Because I think
it would be better to call these things machine learning, because that's what this technology is, and it's basically a technology where nobody really understands it. It's not programmed in the sense that things have been programmed in the past. They make this neural network and throw a bunch of data at it saying, here's past things, figure it out. And, and then experiment with it and say like, oh yeah, it seems to do the right thing. But nobody can explain, how it, it's not like there's a deterministic path. It's not thinking, and and there are some things that show that it doesn't work the way humans do at all. And humans apparently do not use this sort of technique. For example, there's for a number of years, humans have been able to beat computers at playing the game of Go, but recently somebody did it, and basically by doing something really stupid. But the machine learning had never seen anything done in that stupid way, so it didn't react properly. But they're like, no human would ever look at this, and you couldn't fool a human this way, because a human understands the rules and understands what's going on. But machine learning, it doesn't really understand in the way that we think of understanding. It's basically a very fancy autocomplete. And, the way these things are working is at each word, they're like, well, looking at the past corpus of, everything, what's the next word? And that's how they're doing it. So apparently there were cases where the next word were, you sir are an idiot.
Yeah, or you're not a good user.
You're not a good user.
I need to cancel your account.
Yeah, you missed that one, Chuck. I'm a good Bing. You're not a good user.
Yeah, well, there was that one. And of course, there's the one that I won't hurt you if you don't hurt me first, which is right. Okay, that's again, it's
just the fact that you have here. It would be horrible if you had a fire.
Yeah. I mean, but it's
you should pay my cousin Vinny to make sure you don't have a fire.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact that it would react with, I won't hurt you if you don't hurt me first. Well, if I hurt you first, you're going to hurt me.
But again, going to Jim's point, right? This is within the training set that it's saying. It's not necessarily its first response, but based on how the conversation between the bad Bing and the user, or the Bing GPT and the user evolves, it gets into that, because it's obviously understands to get to an appropriate goal, i.e. some sort of compliance by the user, and it's searching around and all the other stuff it's been trained on of what threats are most likely, and then probably, in this speculation on my point, what threats are most likely to get the compliance or submission from after being issued. So it's no wonder, it's no surprise, I guess, if you look at it, that is the sort of emergent behavior from it. But certainly, it's probably nothing anybody really expected going into it.
Well, in the 70s, nobody really says it anymore. I'm not sure why, but there used to be a saying of garbage in, garbage out. And that's what we've got here. They trained it on everything, including a lot of garbage. And surprise, garbage comes out.
Well, you're also, I mean, do I have the name right? Wasn't it Eliza?
Yes.
Rosenbaum. Yep.
Yeah, it was the theoretical therapy program, way back. Yeah. That that people can interact with, and they thought they believed some of them that it was an actual human being responding. And so, now we have Bing doing this. We have ChatGPT. We have other engines out there. Google's bringing one to market. I can't remember theirs for the life of me. Somebody help me. What are they calling theirs?
Was it OpenMind? That was the company I think they acquired
yeah, but I forget what they're going to call theirs.
But on that, I say if they have one, let's show it. Don't talk, just shut up and show it to us. Don't tell us how good it's going to be. Just put it out there and let us see it.
Well, but after this, they may want to go back and do a little more testing, because Microsoft tried to run this out, and it's.
Well, if you go back and you think of it in Freudian terms, they have sort of the ego, the id, and the superego. It isn't really what Bing needs is some sort of superego that's, running as a, control over its id of, if I won't hurt you, if you won't hurt me, that it provides a little bit more of, social adaptive, socially appropriate behavior.
Apparently it has one, and it's called Sydney. But the point is that it's it doesn't have an ego. There is no there. There's not a mind there. There's just a bunch of stuff in a database. And
how are you so sure that's different than what's going on in the gray matter in our heads? Because
what I was just saying, for that people respond differently than these things do.
Mark, you're just trying to cause trouble, but your point is well taken. We all do that. I mean, we all react, maybe not just what the next word is going to be, but we all have a variety of options available to us at any given moment for an external stimulus. And so, if I get frustrated, do I change the channel, or do I pick up something and throw it through the TV?
Well, for one thing, I would say, because people are able to make new things and think of new things that were never thought of before. These things don't do that. They're just regurgitating what was put into them.
I think that's a little too narrow, because I think there's the need for randomness in this, that you just can't say, okay, if there's 20 responses, let me hit it 20 times. You needs to pick some sort of random response, and again, that's what I mean, Beethoven did it, and that's why we think, oh, this is ingenious. It's totally new and totally unexpected. But what was the motive, for how that happened? And is it really,
No,
I think
Beethoven did it consistently over and over again. It wasn't random.
This edition of Mac Voices is supported by Collide at collide.com/MacVoices. Our sponsor, Collide, has some big news. If you're an Okta user, they can get your entire fleet to 100% compliance. How? If a device isn't compliant, the user can't log into your cloud apps until they fix the problem. It's that simple. Collide patches one of the major holes in Zero Trust architecture, device compliance. Without Collide, IT struggles to solve basic problems like keeping everyone's OS and browser up to date. Unsecure devices are logging into your company's apps because there's nothing there to stop them. Collide is the only device trust solution that enforces compliance as part of authentication, and it's built to work seamlessly with Okta. The moment Collide's agent detects a problem, it alerts the user and gives them instructions to fix it. If they don't fix the problem within a set time, they're blocked. Collide's method means fewer support tickets, less frustration, and most importantly, 100% fleet compliance. Visit collide.com/MacVoices to learn more or book a demo. That's Collide, KOLIDE.com/MacVoices. Collide.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Collide for their support of Mac Voices. Webb, you want in?
Oh, I'm kind of getting into how sausage is made here. So, Chuck, you may want to tell me to back off a little bit. My business and my industry, we are using what some could call artificial intelligence. Here again, I'm in the life insurance industry. I've talked about that before, and we utilize some what I'm going to call some automated processing, where an application comes in, it gets read or scanned, and then we're going out and doing some things to check, to assess the risk. Remember, that's the business we're in. We're assessing the risk of an individual. And so we will do MIB, Medical Insurance Bureau checks. We will do prescription checking. There is a dynamic here where credit checking relates to lifestyles and some of these other things. And out of the 50,000 applications that I process a year, maybe a third of them are never actually reviewed by a human being. It's all done through the computer, and I think it has a place. Now, there are certain criteria, of course, that gets scanned in, and for some reason it gets kicked out, and then it gets human intervention after that. But my point here is that I think there are certain circumstances where all this new technology is interesting, has a place. I remember way back when I'm talking about the mid to late 90s maybe, and QuickTime had just come out, and they had a QuickTime streaming service. And one of the things that I thought was really, really neat was that I was able to take my computer and stream to a classical musical station in Berlin. Okay. Now, I was doing on dial-up, and it was real choppy, and it was hard to really enjoy. But the basis for that technology has evolved into what we're doing right now. I think that's fascinating. I'm not going to take the ChatGPT thing and just say, "Oh my God, the sky's falling." I'm going to let it evolve a little bit. The other thing I wanted to add was, Jim, you were talking about the full self-driving. I have a Tesla, and I'll be glad to come pick you up in it and take you for a ride anytime you want. And we can both sit in the back seat. No, not really. That you can't do it that way. You can't do it that way.
I'll be happy to go for a ride in Tesla as long as FSD isn't turned on.
Now, that's car insurance. That's different. So, I'll tell you my opinion on the full self-driving on the Tesla. Personally, and this is just my own view on it, is that I don't like the way my Tesla, when I put it into full self-driving, I don't like the way it tracks a lane. Okay, it kind of stays a little bit too close to the middle, or the middle stripe, if you will, as opposed to I am more comfortable staying closer to the solid left lane on a 2-lane road. So I'm not real sold on the full self-driving option on my Tesla, and I did pay for it. On the other hand, though, when I'm driving to a city that I go to frequently that's about 130, 140 miles away, the full self-driving is fabulous. But that's highway speeds, and it's not real crowded, and I like it there. But do I let it say, "Hey, drive me to work"? The highway portion's fine, but I get onto the city streets, forget it. I'm kicking it off. I'm not even going to give it a chance. So anyway.
Yeah.
But you're a responsible person too.
No, I'm not.
Your
drive
attire
it like you stole it.
tells me that you are. Your attire tells me that you are.
Drive it like you stole it. Who has your auto insurance, Web? I want to talk to him.
There's another Fast and Furious coming out this summer.
Yeah. Fast and Furious, Web Bixby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Web, but now you said where you're comfortable, that you prefer, the lane, which side of the lane you're on.
Yeah, how it tracks the lane, yeah.
Yeah, and that could be, that could be adjusted if there was a good reason. I would be interested to know, because somewhere somebody made the decision to stay on that side of the lane. I don't know what the reason is or why, but that just is not a random thing. So
yeah,
there has to be a good reason, and I'd be very interested in knowing what it is. But
there's so many variables. There's so many variables. It could be the way the road was made. It could, it's how the software is, just all kinds of things. I'm sorry, Jim.
So, Chuck, that goes to Jim's point that it may not necessarily be programmed that way, but out of all the accumulated whatever data set that they used, that it may have a higher probability of success, however that's measured, by towing towards the center of the lane instead of to the outside. Because I know when I took driving courses, they say when you're going around, go to the outside. Why? Because you have more contact between your tires and the road versus when you're on the inside. So the question is, are there these tuning parameters? And I don't know if Elon will open up and tell anybody anything. I can't imagine he would. He seems to be a pretty much take it or shove it, sort of binary response. But again, it all goes back to all the training data and how does that interact? Again, I think that is that itself too is a stochastic function, and on a related thing, there's a lot of people. So it's funny to me that AI came out, again, maybe in like the past 6 months. Prior to that, AI in the 80s and 90s was a dead term and overused, and everyone was talking about machine learning. And there are a couple of reasons for that, but it seemed like that was much more, appropriate. But now all of a sudden, everyone just jump it up as, okay, this is a sentient being, and I really don't think it is. I'm not sure if we are either, but we'll pause that discussion for another time.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's saying that, Mark. I think that look, you can't help it when you read the transcript of that Bing chat. You can't help but anthropomorphize it. You kind of have to. But maybe that's our failing. Maybe we need to step back and say, look, this is just a collection of algorithms that are trying to predict the next thing. But
the question is, do we hook this up, in a hospital? Do we hook this up to machines to keep us alive? Do we allow it to drive our cars? And my objection on the car thing is that, Webb is getting to decide, and he does do so apparently on a daily basis, whether I am sharing the road with a car that's run by a computer. And, I don't think that should be delegated to individual Tesla drivers.
I don't think, Jim, I think at some point it's not going to be up to you or even to the Tesla drivers. I think that there are going to be a whole lot of people out there that are going to be implementing these kind of self-driving programs in various stages.
And that's why we have governments and rules of, driving rules and regulations, and, where's the oversight?
That's a fair question. And that's something that everybody, I mean, how is it going to be national oversight? Is it going to be international oversight? Is it going to be state by state?
Skynet.
Probably state by state or maybe federal, but right now I think it's, there's just a vacuum. And people like Elon Musk are, just like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to shoot up satellites that pollute the, now astronomers can't do anything, and, basically, do whatever I want.
But isn't that how other technologies, isn't that, sort of, there's similar characters in the story of how electricity is deployed?
I mean, what about look? Let's point to Russia.
What do you mean electricity?
Let's point to Russia. Let's point to the United States. Let's point to China. Let's point to France. Let's point to Japan. Let's point to every country out there that is putting things into orbit. I mean, we're beating on Elon for one more thing, and yet they're all doing it too. So where's to Jim's question, where's the oversight? Where's the coordination, and who's going to have the ability?
Like, for example, in that case, he's putting up like an order of magnitude more satellites than anybody ever has. So
no, he's not.
Web.
Now let's see. I got. I'm looking at an app. I think it's called Spaceflight. China's setting up a satellite within the next 24 hours. There is a Starlink satellite going up. Soyuz is going up.
But
China's
the Starlink has
China's setting another.
How many satellites are on each Starlink?
Okay, wait, Jim. Go ahead, Webb.
Oh, it's just that Elon Musk is some people's favorite villain. I've talked about that before. And I think that there are lots of other entities out there. Like I said, China and India and Japan. Japan's putting up a satellite every 35 days. And you're talking about Starlink because they release all their little modules and they go in geosynchronous, and I understand what you're saying.
No, they're not. No, they're actually, especially low orbits, they're not geosynchronous. Geosynchronous isn't a problem that's so far off that. But I know that astronomers are singling out Starlink as being a huge problem, and basically, they're looking at what Starlink is, not so much have done so far, but extrapolating it out to where they're going to be and saying it's going to be impossible to use an Earth-based telescope in 5 years. I mean, we're kind of way off topic. But anyway, the point, and the point is, it's my point is not Elon; it's the regulation, and it's are we going to let people go forward and take Microsoft Bing and put it in critical things where if it says, I won't hurt you unless you hurt me, it can hurt you. That's the thing. It's like, we need to be careful. And, if it's a chat thing, who cares? It could chat away all, sticks and stones, right? Bing can't hurt me right now. But people are going to want to put these systems into things where it can hurt people, and that's where I'm like, we need to take a step back and be careful.
Jim, I agree with that completely.
That's the only point I'm making.
Yeah, I guess maybe I should have said that earlier. If it wants to argue with me, fine. If it wants to threaten me, fine. And right up to the point that you connect it to a weapon system. And now we have a potential issue. So, more testing. I mean, look, and we all know this. These are very early days in this stuff, and it's all part of, I think, what we will end up looking back on is seeing a natural evolution and a very understandable evolution of what these tools can do. I mean, think about the operating systems we all use now just for our personal computers and how they have evolved, and how things that we can do now without batting an eye were a major effort, when we started. And so, these things are just going to get better, and hopefully they will get better in a positive way, and we will learn to train them better. And maybe, hopefully, with a bigger corpus of information, they get better automatically, or not. If they're trained on human beings, not so sure.
But I think the way new technologies emerge, for better or for worse, is they emerge, they get deployed, and then if they get enough scale and adoption, and they have lethal or harmful effects, that seems to be the point at which they get regulated. And this has happened in automobiles, this has happened in electricity, this has happened with artificial sweeteners for diet sodas. This happens over and over and over and again. So I think right now we're in the very early days. Yes, are we seeing stuff that raises pause for concern? Yes, we are. But think about it. A VC-funded company would be cognizant of the risks. It would take risks. It's not going to eliminate the risks, but it will try to manage the risks. So that it has limited downside and limited upside. That's not to say things mistakes won't get made and things will slip through. But I think that in general, that if there's a big economic payoff and benefit, that all the players are going to be incented, to behave in such a way that they limit the downside and maximizing the upside. And again, that's not to say that people are stupid, and when they use Tesla full safe driving, and they get killed. Other people get killed just because the algorithm wasn't up to it. That just seems to be the way the world works.
Yeah. I'm going to give the chat room the last two words here, and then we'll get out of here. But Eric's hard to see all of these systems have to pass a qualifying run with each system update. A qualifying driving set, a conversation with a person, give stars in review with positive runs. And Barry says, Star Trek episode, The Ultimate Computer, 1968. Great point, Barry. Great point. Guys, as always, we take this places I never expect, but it's been a lot of fun. Thank you all for your intelligence and your wisdom, and maybe a little paranoia along the way too. Let's go around the room here and find out where they can find you when you're not here. And I'm going to flip it upside down again. Webb, I'll give you first out. Where can folks find you? And by the way, you look really good.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it's just came straight home from work and came upstairs. Well, I had a bite to eat and then came upstairs and fired the computer up. So you can find me at Web Bixby at twit.social on Mastodon. The other thing is that you'll be able to find me Thursday night on, Inside with the, David Show. So he drafted
In Touch
me.
with iOS.
In Touch, thank you. I knew I was going to get that wrong. So he drafted me. We'll see if I can wax eloquent there too. So.
Oh, you'll do fine.
Thank you.
No doubt in my mind. David, make him wear a tie. Mark Fuccio, thank you for being here. Where can folks find you?
If you want to reach me easily, it's at Mark Fuccio at Twitter, or someplace where I've registered following web. It's Mark Fuccio at twit.social, and that's a lonely.
He'll let you in.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Mark has joined the Mastodon verse. All right.
Yes.
Wow.
All right. Good. I'll start tagging you there then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take you too.
Yeah.
You can blame
Jim
me on
Ray.
He shared his alternate address.
Jim Ray, thank you. You're up there with the Starlink satellites bouncing off your head. Where can folks find you?
You can find me at provue.com, PROVUE, weird spelling, long story. And you can also find me on Mastodon at ProVueJim, same weird spelling, at techhub.social.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Last but absolutely not least, at least on my screen in the corner of the angels, Mr. David Ginsburg. David, good to have you. Thank you for being here. How should folks connect with you in preparation for Web's appearance?
Yes, thank you for having me as always. You can find me at InTouchByOS at InTouchByOS.com. Yes, as Web said, Web Bixby will be our special guest this coming Thursday as we record this. So come check it out. And you can find us on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS. I'm on the Mac Show on Fridays on the British Tech Network as well as here. And you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at Mastodon.social. Oh, I'm sorry, Mastodon.iCloud, excuse me. Yes, that's where you can find me.
Great. Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live. We do this Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We've had a very active chat room. I just couldn't keep up with everything. There's been a lot of conversations going back and forth here. Some of which I'm not even sure what to say about. But Barry, I'll give Barry credit. He did mention Google Bard. Bard was the one that we were trying to say and couldn't. So we will be back next Tuesday. We hope you will join us then. Otherwise, I will see you during the week in the feeds. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.